Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. A week ago, I posted a really interesting letter by someone who had turned 50 and wrote about what they'd learned when they turned 50. And then just the next day, a friend of mine, Roger Lamoureux, who is very involved in the fashion industry and has been for numerous years, if not decades, wrote a post about turning 60, and he didn't write it all, but he referenced some other comments, and I thought it was just as good, if not better, because maybe I identified with it a little bit more. Roger Lamoureux, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you. Glad to be here again, Brian.
Before we get into the suggestions on living life to its fullest after 60, tell me a little bit about yourself. You have been very involved in fashion, and you're on the Toronto Fashion Incubator Board of Directors. And the advisory committee that wants to keep Canadian fashion relevant. Is that correct?
That is totally correct. And we support all the mentors and all the new up and coming generations. And we mentor them, we coach them. So it's really exciting. It's a non-for-profit that was started by the Toronto government. And
you've been in fashion for most of your career, if not all your career?
My full career, over 40 years, 40 plus years. So I've always stayed in it, always supported Canadian fashion, but I've been fortunate enough to work globally and travel globally. So I still sponsor everything there is to do with. I'm on TFI now, but I was with FGI, the Fashion Group International Toronto, there a few years back when it was Roger Gingrich and Claudia. So I've always I like to dabble and support and grow with it.
Well, it sounds like you've had an interesting career. We may delve into that a little bit later on. But let's turn to the topic of this post. And what it was staying active, positive, and having a social balance in life after 60. Tell me about your life after 60 and what you learned from this post and why you posted it.
So I'll start with the reason why I posted the post is because everything in there is exactly how I believe in living. And I could relate to it. So I went through paragraph by paragraph, and each one, again, you tweak it to your own lifestyle. But again, like most people, I don't like to quote exactly what someone else says, but everything they wrote was exactly how I live. So what I found once I turned 60, it's just another number. I don't feel 60. I don't act 60. My life has never changed. Physical wise, mental wise, I keep active. I keep going. So I think why I wanted to post it the most is so others understand that 60 is just a number. Don't change your life and don't go by the old social standards of once you hit 60, life's over. But because I believe that once I hit 60, life's just beginning. The newest chapter is more exciting.
You think it really is?
I really do. I don't take, like, again, when you're younger and you're growing your career and you've got all the responsibility and the family and you feel, I think you feel more burdened and you're growing your investments. Once you hit 60, you don't take it as seriously. And I don't mean don't take it serious at all. You just let things roll off easier. I think you're more complacent into your own mentally as well as physically. And I think that you just have to enjoy life and do what you've always wanted to do.
You wrote, living your best life while embracing the excitement of our passions, adventures, making every moment count.
Exactly. That's exactly how I feel.
What advice would you give in one sentence?
Well, the first thing I'd say is don't take things for granted. Do what you've always wanted to do. Don't hold back. There's no reason to, because life is short. You live each day to its fullest. Because as some people say, you die once, but you live each day. So just live it to its fullest.
You also wrote that it's time to use and enjoy your money.
That's the biggest key that I loved about that post, because a lot of people that I know at my age and a little older, they're saving these, they're reinvesting, and they're worrying about their children, and we got to leave this for the grandkids and help this and help. Why? Did you get a lot of help? Some may have, but a lot of us have built our own nest egg, and we put away for our retirement. We put away to enjoy life and do the things we want to do. So if you're going to sit there and always put away, when are you going to find the time to enjoy or do what you actually save that money for? It shouldn't be for the others. Let them build their own as we did. So that's what I believe in. Just spend it as we have it, enjoy it. This year already, I know it's September coming up, but I've already had 2 great trips. I'm always going somewhere. I'm always doing something. I'm always joining a club or something like that.
You
I'm
go
not
on two
putting
great
money
trips
away.
every year.
Pardon?
You go on two great trips every year.
Minimum, I do.
Where
During
are some
COVID, of course
Where are some of the
not.
places you've gone?
I've been to, I may name a Caribbean island. I've been to all the Caribbean islands. I've been in many places through Europe, like Monaco, Nice, through Paris many times. Like all over. I've been to India and Bangladesh and Thailand with work as well as pleasure. So yeah, I've traveled extensively. Mexico, I've done to the Mayan, just along the Gulf Coast. We've done Florida when the children were younger because it was more economical. You drive down the state for a couple of weeks and do Disney. So in parts of the States, I've done Canada. I've been fortunate enough to see it coast to coast now. So yeah, Banff, love Banff. I live in a great cottage resort as well because I've got Blue Mountain there too. So day trips as well, but
I interviewed someone in the fashion business who told me that one of their secrets of traveling is they always bought a outfit, a suit or something like that on every trip. And I was off to Italy and I went to Florence. And so I made a point of actually going and buying a suit. And I always remember that I bought that suit on a main sort of fashion street in Florence. Are there any things like that that you do when you travel?
each and every trip, you just nailed it. I've got an outfit or I've got a blazer or I've got a shirt. Like as I'm wearing something, I'll always say, well, I bought this one in Italy or I bought this one in India or I got this from here, as well as I buy local art. Like I like to support the locals. So I don't have it all displayed anymore because I downsized when I moved to Wasaga. But I used to every room I could talk and give you a story about where those pieces came from as well. It's
That's a
exciting.
great way to remember those travel experiences.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, in the day when I started traveling, we didn't do as many selfies or posts or pictures. It was all buying the relics and keeping that for the memories.
So the comment about, you collect experiences, not toys. Do you agree with that?
I totally agree with that. Totally agree. Everywhere I go and everything I do, I always remember something great that's meaningful to me. And okay, I'm here for 3 weeks. I'm house and dog sitting. And right out of the blue, I made that post that I was in Gorge Landing this week, babysitting the dogs. And through social media, which I love because it does keep you connected, a friend that I worked with almost 30 years ago out in Oshawa reached out to me, and I had coffee this week with somebody I hadn't seen in 30 years. So that's the type of experiences that mean a lot to me, the connections in life.
Roger, a lot of people after 60 think that sort of life is over and they slow down and they're thinking about retirement, if not, full retirement, if not, starting to look for seniors homes. Is there ageism, do you think? Is it self-imposed ageism? What's your attitude toward that?
I think you nailed it. It's self-imposed ageism because I'll use the example of COVID / turning 60 and me moving out of the city. One could get really depressed. Like I talked to a lot of people because COVID hit in 2020 and they were locked in their homes and they didn't know what to do. Well, I had moved to Wasaga Beach. There's not much you could do, period. And there's just my wife and I, and we both respect each other's privacy and we're both very active. So what I did is I got online and I just moved there, but got into the local environment, like started talking and joining the Rotary Club meetings, the climate control divisions. I was meeting people that way. Then I went up to, I knew somebody in Blue Mountain, but they weren't open, but I was working up in Blue Mountain for them, helping them set up some pop-up shops, getting ready for that. So you got to keep active in your community. Meet new people as we get older. And I'm going to use an example of my father, which we were blessed to live till he was 92. But as he got older, he was the youngest of his family and most of his friends. He lost everybody around him. But what he did to keep active, and he never retired, he was a builder. He worked for Habitat and started training the next generation. But you got to keep active and you got to meet new people because that gives you more interest and become more worldly and have so much more to talk about and feel good about yourself.
What about society? Does society have ageism?
Society, I believe, still does, definitely does. And I think that's what holds a lot of people back. And I'll use an example. You could be somewhere and somebody will make a negative comment about somebody was not dressing for their age, or this one shouldn't be doing this, you're too old to be doing this. There's no such thing as too old to be doing it, or no such thing as dressing. You dress appropriately for how you feel. So that's where society has ageism, I believe. globally.
You know, I thought your post was excellent. I really enjoyed it. We're going to take a break for some messages and come back, and we're going to talk about fitness and health and fashion and some other suggestions that Roger had in his post. Stay with us, everyone. Back in 2 minutes about living life to its fullest after 60. Stay with us. Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. My guest tonight is Roger Lamoureux. He's a 40-year plus veteran of the fashion industry. He's over 60 now. He's living in Wasaga Beach, living the good life by the lake. And he wrote a post recently, didn't write it all himself. He quoted some other people, but he wrote a post about living life to its fullest after 60, which I thought was really fantastic, particularly number one, because I'm sort of in that era myself. And number two, it followed just a week ago after another friend of mine had written quite a long post, and I interviewed her about turning 50 and living to its life to its fullest after 50. And, you know, we used to have these lines about, you know, don't trust anyone over 30, don't trust anyone over 50. You know, and now people are saying 60 is the new 40, 70 is the new 50. So life seems to be extended. And you know, we are living longer, and I guess we don't want to live life in our senior years confined to a wheelchair, or confined to a senior's home, or confined to not a great life. And one of the keys to that, Roger, has got to be fitness. And you have always impressed me as someone who looks spectacular in your fashion, so that you must have good structure underneath the clothes, good health underneath, and fitness. And so tell me, what are your secrets in that regard, sir?
So the biggest secret, number one, is I'm very active. I don't sit idle very often. I've always got a plan of what I'm going to do on that day. So I get up, I walk daily. If I have a choice between taking the car and walking, I walk. I cycle when I can. I keep active that way. And the diet. The other key to that twist is diet, eating well and keeping a regime. I don't have 3 huge meals a day. I have 2 really great meals, and if I'm hungry, I snack in between, but it's healthy snacks and eating healthy. I like all foods. I'm not one that'll say I couldn't be a vegetarian. I love my meat. I couldn't be a vegan because I love everything else, but I eat within the right proportions of each. I avoid a lot of sugars because diabetes were in our family. I stay fit, my blood count and everything, just by proper diet and exercise. And then, like I said, it's walking, and I don't do strenuous exercise. If I feel like the winter and it's still too much lull, and now that I'm in Wasaga, too much snow, go to the pool. There's a Y up in Wasaga Beach, and I'll just do a few laps in the pool. So just keep the body moving.
Just keep the body moving. So nothing like intermittent fasting or swearing off carbs or something like that. No, none of these fancy diets. You just keep moving.
No fancy diets. Like my problem is I like all food groups. I'm a sucker when it comes to the carbs. I love pasta. I love fresh breads. I love, like I said, and I couldn't be a vegetarian because I like my red meats as well as my chickens and everything, and fish. So it's just in proportions, I guess.
What about mental health?
Mental health is really important to me too. I'm always learning new things. I'm always exploring or looking at things. My background music is the news. I always have CNN on, or I'll put CP24 on, and when Global's playing. I'm always looking for some new fresh news broadcasts and something to keep me excited there. And like I mentioned, I'm in Wasaga now. So if there's some event or something happening, I get out there, I listen, I want to learn what they're talking about. So yeah, I keep involved mentally, just keep the mind alert.
Your post said it well. Laughter, love, independence, getting out, socializing, keep active, local events, markets, clubs, gym, pets, card games, dancing, embrace the golden years, surround yourself with positive, energetic people, hobbies, hold no regrets or grudges, don't stress over the small things.
Exactly. That's why I put it that way.
What about fashion? How do you ensure that you put your best foot forward from a fashion standpoint?
I believed in, I used to say this when I was in fashion, I was training buyers or something, I would say, as they were designing a line or somebody was working on something, there's those people in the morning that get up and they get dressed, and then there's those people that get up in the morning and throw clothes on. There's a difference. I feel that those that get up in the morning and get dressed, it makes you feel better. You're putting your best foot forward. Then those that just get up in the morning and throw clothes on, they don't really pay attention to the details. That's not a negative. Everybody has their own different priorities or ways of living. But I just always felt better. And retirement doesn't mean that you don't have to get up and get dressed every day as well, because you want to feel and look your best. So the grooming aspects have never changed from when I was working full time to when I'm just intermittently work like now. So yeah, I don't think it's a good idea to start laxing in that area as well, because clothes makes me feel good and everybody knows what does and doesn't. So I always get up in the morning and get dressed.
Do clothes still make the man?
I think they can define the man, and they give him a presence.
I always feel better when I've had a recent haircut and when I've got a jacket on, whether it's a suit jacket or a sports jacket or something like that. Does that make any sense?
It totally makes sense to me. So I always had, like, if I had big meetings and when I was a director or whatever, at whatever company, it was a big meeting day. I always made sure I had the full suit on. The tie always made me feel more powerful, and I just felt really right. And if it was just a casual lax day, I could go into, like they called it, business casual or whatever, then I wouldn't wear the blazer and that. But if I had meetings and that, it does. I always felt more powerful.
I haven't worn a tie other than a few times since before COVID. Like, ties seem to have gone away.
They're coming back, though. It is back. There's the new generation, which I respect. There's that really powerful generation that's still bringing it back. And I think it's great in business. It'll never go away. It's funny that I don't wear them as often anymore, but any event I come to the city for, or I had a wedding last month, I always feel good wearing a tie again.
You mentioned that you've got CNN or CP24 on in the background. What other resources keep you relevant, aware, up to date?
Like all the news, I read the hard copy and the soft copy medias. I get out there and I talk to people. I'm on social media. I keep myself alert. LinkedIn, since its conception in 2009, I've been on there because I think there's a lot of great posts there, and it keeps you globally aware. And then my other social medias and stuff, because even though I'm watching the news and that, you may miss something. You get alerted within Instagram, or somebody's mentioned it in Facebook, then I get to dive into it even further. So I do a lot of research as well.
Why? Why would you do all that research? Why do you stay up to date on
that? I like to be aware. And then for the fact that, like I just said, I like to get out there and socialize and be aware. I like small talk's fine. I'm good at small talk, but I like to have an intelligent conversation. And if somebody's, I'm not a brainiac. I don't dive too deep, but I like to be aware and then learn more about different things, because it just keeps the mind more alert and fresh.
Do you do that just with social media or with real people?
Pardon?
Do you do that with just social media or with real people?
Real people more than social media. Real people at events and stuff. I love a great conversation.
I keep seeing you going to events. Why do you still keep going to events? Why did you join Rotary? Why do you get involved in the local community?
I think it keeps me active. It keeps me younger at mind and heart. It, again, keeps me aware of what's going on, and it's supporting everybody and anybody I can as well within my interests.
I interviewed an expert on dementia, and hopefully neither of us have to be facing that ever, or at least for a long period of time. But it was interesting because this expert said a few things. He said that people with mental health problems that are alone end up dying. People with mental health problems that have social interactions with friends and family end up surviving. And he said that that people that are trying to fight dementia and do crosswords or Sudoku or mind games and things like that and improve themselves. But the people that improve themselves the most are when they're doing that in an interactive situation. And he used the example of bridge, which was, I thought, kind of interesting, because he said the thing about bridge, and he said, don't always play bridge with just smart people. Play bridge with players that aren't as capable as you, because he said, number one, it's the intellectual activity of a game, but then also the challenge of dealing with frustration. And that social activity that you have when you're teaching someone or training someone or dealing with frustration is so critically important to keeping the mind active and engaged. And he used the line again. It's that you don't stop dancing when you get old. You get old when you stop dancing. What do you think of those suggestions?
I love both of them. I agree with both of them, and I think that's why. And it's funny, I was smiling because I do crosswords. I do Sudoku every morning with my first coffee. I do a couple of Sudokus. Then I do a crossword at least twice a week. So, and it's just play the mind games. I play cards often. It's just my wife and I. Like last night, we were playing rummy, 500 rummy. Then we play the phase tens. We keep ourselves, and then when I have a group of people, we play cards in the evenings, and we still do all the games and tiles and all that. So I think that it keeps your mind very active.
But what about this networking that you do and the events you go to? Why would you do that still today?
You never know what life has to offer yet. I don't call myself retired. I'm always working on something different or going down a different avenue. And it's still networking for myself as well as them. I like to be a mentor. I like to be a coach. I get out there so they know me. I give them my social media addresses or how to contact me. I give advice when where needed. I'm still out there. I'm still active. I think that's what keeps me, like I said, it's for the mental and the physical.
It's a great attitude. And I love this line that you used as well about using your money when you get older. And you said you worked hard building your net worth. Enjoy it. Your children and grandchildren will always have a piece of your heart. They don't need to also have a piece of your wallet. Let them make their own money. Enjoy life with your partner while you can, and splurge on what you worked for. It's a sort of a different attitude than the save and suffer attitude of the past. It's save in your past and enjoy it now in your later years.
The reason I believe in that is I've watched too many people fade away and not use their own money, or they sacrifice their own to give to others, like not to give to others that need it. It's just that I find it selfish. I've had some great aunts and uncles, like relatives, where they've left their fortune to their children, and they all fight over it. Money can be, it's a greed. I don't want to ever see that. I don't want to know about that. And they sacrificed and left and lived very modestly, so their children could fight and waste it in the courts. It's not worth it.
Not worth it.
I believe in, like I said, we all worked hard. I've been very fortunate, love to travel. I'm going to travel. And if we bought this house, there's things we want to do. We're already working, like making the backyard our own oasis and stuff. My money's going towards what pleasures my wife and I.
How long have you been married?
I've been married 41 years.
Wow. What's the secret to that, sir?
Mutual respect. Giving each other space if you need it. Respect is the main thing. We're kind to each other.
We're kind to each other. Great line.
We met each other young, grew together.
You also have a bunch of suggestions on the next generation. We're going to take a break and come back with Roger Lamoureux and some comments about the next generation after a 2-minute break. Stay with us, everybody. Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. My guest tonight is Roger Lamoureux. He is a 40-year plus veteran of the fashion industry. And I got to tell you, I've followed this gentleman, known him somewhat for a couple of years now. He's always so well put together. My vision of Roger is always with a suit and a stiff shirt and a bow tie. I'm not sure exactly why I've got that image of you, sir, but you're always incredibly well dressed. You're always putting your best foot forward. You're always fit. And you're always interacting with other people, at least in the pictures that I've seen of you. And so I admire you in that regard. You posted this interesting post about life after 60 and that life isn't over, and that you thought that it is a time for us all to enjoy our money, enjoy our time, enjoy our life. And a lot of people don't. I got to tell you, my father passed away when he was 64 years old of prostate cancer, and he worked hard his whole life, and he made a good living and a good life for himself and his wife and his family. He retired, and he cashed out of his home equity, and he moved from Toronto to Ottawa, and within a year and a bit, he was gone. And he had this big bucket list of a bunch of things that he wanted to do, and he waited too long to attack that bucket list of things that he wanted to do. And I've always thought that was such a shame. And I probably don't keep as good care of myself, and I certainly don't dress as well as you. But I think that there's a lot of lessons in what regrettably he did wrong, and some of the suggestions that you've got in regards to living life. You also made some comments about the next generation. Tell me about what you see the differences between our generation and the coming next generation.
The first thing I see is they're more of a risk taker. I see that there's some brilliance. Our generation, we're a little more reserved in some areas, and more cautious. And I think it's just moving quicker, a lot quicker than we did, in a good way.
You suggest that the next generation is more open-minded. Do you think that?
I do. I think they're very open-minded and ready to move forward.
And
I think it's great. I never have a stigma on each generation gap. I think every one of us are here for a purpose. And we go back to our parents' generation or grandparents' generation. They were all there to make a huge impact. And it has. The world's just evolving constantly. So I'm open-minded as well to listen to them and hear what they have to say. I have 2 children, late 30s. I have nieces and nephews in their 40s, and they're all brilliant, and they're all making an impact and a difference in the world.
Are there suggestions you'd give the next generation if you had a chance to speak with them all?
If I had to speak to them all, and suggestions I would have is, I would say never give up. Just keep the pace, keep the course. I would also suggest listen to your past generations as well, because there's lessons learned from each one of us and each generation. And just be open-minded. Like I said, keep the open mind.
You've had an unbelievably interesting career. Maybe I could just mention a little bit of it for everyone. You were a national buyer for Sears Canada for 10 years in the 1990s and the 2000s. You were senior merchandise and sourcing manager for Williamson Dickey Canada Company. You were director of product development for Walmart Company for 4 years. You were merchandise manager of Ladies and Girls for Blue Notes, director of fashion merchandising for Rogers Communications, the shopping channel. You were principal consultant for your own company and a senior fashion leader. And now you're a style editor for the Spencer Media Group. Quite an incredible fashion career. I met with some people recently from China that were bringing in fashion every day from jetliners and then couried around Canada, and they talked about fast fashion and how people were buying everything online. What do you think of where fashion is in today's world?
Today's world, there's fast fashion still there, but I think the slow fashion's taken over. And the slow fashion is those items that can be classics in your wardrobe. Because we want to be aware of the environment. Sustainability is the biggest key right now in fashion. One of the biggest culprits of waste is fashion. So I think that you have to be cautious when they talk about fast fashion to where we're going. I think that there's a lot more sustainability as in repurposing. There's a lot of online companies now, which is great to see, where they do swapping. So I think there's a big difference and a big awareness now of keeping things out of the landfill on fashion today.
Is that something you hope or you think is going to happen? Because this company was bringing in not a 747, but I think a 777 every day with purchases online from China being distributed around Vancouver, Toronto, Calgary, etc.
So it's not a hope. It is happening. It's going to take a while. There's a lot more room for improvement, but it's definitely happening, and it needs to happen. And there will always be fast fashion. There's always going to be that consumer that doesn't want to repurpose, recycle, reuse. They want the newest, the most innovative. You've got those. You will always have both. But I think the blend percentage has to change.
And what about what people are wearing? Have we gone too casual? I read this interesting article that compared primarily Americans, but I think this is also somewhat Canadians, and the way they dress to Europeans, particularly on European vacations. And they were saying that the Americans, go to dinner in flip-flops, shorts, and T-shirts, while the Europeans dress up and think what the Americans are doing as far as dressing for dinner was completely inappropriate. That the Americans will come with a ball cap on, and in Europe it would be completely inappropriate to wear a ball cap to dinner. What do you think about our current attitudes toward fashion? Are they more casual and more comfortable, and so therefore more appropriate, or have we lost some of the savoir-faire that the Europeans might have had and have
So
today?
you've phrased it correctly. I think we've become more relaxed and more comfort before the savoir-faire, as you use that phrase. I think it'll never be totally gone. There's still those that like to dress up to go out to dinner and look more polished, but there's always going to be, there's a mix, and it has gone more casual right now and more comfort. I think part of that was, and I think we talked during COVID was making people more relaxed and wearing the comfort. And so that trend has continued, but I think there will always be a good blend. I'm hoping to see the polished look come back a little more and getting dressed for dinners and stuff.
Do you think it will?
I'm hoping it will. Will it? It will. It'll take some time, I think. It's definitely going to take some time.
I think it will, and it's strange. People have really changed their attitude. I see people in hybrid offices these days in jeans and hoodies that no one would have worn 5 years ago before COVID.
Exactly. So that's where it needs to change a little more and become more professional. In my mind, it's not as professional when you're on a business meeting and so forth.
And I come back to, I feel more confident. I feel more, I don't think powerful is the right word. I feel more put together. I feel more confident. I feel more capable when I'm wearing a jacket, even if it's just a sports jacket, and a nice shirt, even if it's an open neck shirt. I feel more comfortable.
I agree with you. I'm the exact same. Like I said, if it's a big corporate, big meetings and stuff, I'm dressed to the nines. When it's a more casual atmosphere, then yes, it'll still be business casual. It'll never just be flip-flops and a t-shirt, but.
I love this post that you put, and I think there's a lot of really great suggestions in it. I'm going to read a little bit of it and maybe get you to expand if you've got an interest in doing so. It is titled "For Those of Us Who Are 60 Years of Age and Old and Above," and it's got a bunch of suggestions. The first one we've talked a little bit about. Between 60 and death, it's time to use the money you saved up. Use it and enjoy it. Don't just keep it for those who may have no notion of the sacrifices you made to earn it. Remember, there is nothing more dangerous than a son or a daughter-in-law with big ideas for your hard-earned capital. 2, warning, this is also a bad time for investments. Even if it seems wonderful or foolproof, they only bring problems and worries. This is a time for you to enjoy some peace and quiet. 3, stop worrying about the financial situation of your children and grandchildren, and don't feel bad spending your money on yourself. You've taken care of them for many years, and you've taught them what you could. You gave them an education, food, shelter, and support. The responsibility is now theirs to earn their own money. I think those are great principles. Do you actually agree with them? Because so many people, almost think that their obligation is to pass on this big, equity, net equity in their home to the next generation. But you're talking about enjoying it. You've worked for it. You should enjoy it. I
agree with every one of those statements. I agree with the whole thing, and especially because most of us have given our children everything along the way. We worked for our money, and it's time to use it. I'm 60 plus. What am I going to do for the next 30 years? Put away a nest egg for somebody else to use, not enjoy life, sit at home and do nothing? No, I'm going to do what I want to do.
Well, so and totally the reality is, you and I hopefully will live 30 years and or more. And a generation ago, we'd probably have a life expectancy of only 10. And so that does change things fairly dramatically.
It does. It does.
Then you say about keep a healthy life without great physical effort. Do moderate exercise like walking every day. Eat well and get your sleep. It's easy to become sick and it gets harder to remain healthy. That is why you need to keep yourself in good shape and be aware of your medical and physical needs. Keep in touch with your doctor. Do tests even when you're feeling well. Stay informed.
Well, you mentioned your father, but my father had prostate issues too. I get checked every 6 months. There's a such thing. You got to take care of your physical. I've got some blood, so I take pills every day like everybody else. Not everybody, but at our age, most of us do, a handful to keep us ticking. But everything about me is I get it checked. I'm perfect. I make sure that I maintain what I have to. I'm on a cocktail, we'll call it, but without that cocktail, I probably wouldn't be here today. So you have to know your body and how you feel.
I found the next one really interesting. Always buy the best, most beautiful items for your significant other. The key goal is to enjoy your money with your partner. One day, one of you will miss the other, and the money will not provide any comfort then. Enjoy it together.
Totally agree with that again. And if you want something, buy it. If she wants something, she gets it, or vice versa. We worked for the money together. We built it together. So spoil ourselves, yes.
I was out for dinner on Thursday night on a trip in Skaneateles, New York, in a favorite pizza restaurant, and sitting beside us was this lady in her 80s, and she had just lost her husband of 45 or something like that. Actually, no, it was 60 something years, and she had this big, beautiful Greek style Greco-Roman pillar style mansion in town. She also had a place in Manhattan. She also had a place in Palm Beach. She said, I want for nothing, but I'd give it all up if I could have my husband back.
Deep, but it's true, probably deep.
It was.
She's alone without him.
And so spending the money, enjoying life together while you're still together makes a lot of sense. Don't stress over the little things. You've already overcome so much in your life. You have good memories and bad ones, but the important thing is the present. Don't let the past drag you down, and don't let the future frighten you. Feel good in the now. Small issues will soon be forgotten. Do you agree with that? Small issues
I totally agree with that. Even some of the bigger, like the friend I told you I ran into and I met in Coburg. Hadn't talked to one of his brothers in years. I have 5 siblings that have never not talked. We may not talk in a period of time, but when we do talk, it's like we just pick up where we left off. It's it's blood, even the best of friends. I've never held a grudge, and I don't think I ever will in life. It's not worth it. I don't think it's good for you physically as well as mentally.
I've become a fan of Ted Lasso. I'm not sure if you've watched the show. But he's got a couple of suggestions in that regard. One was be a goldfish because goldfish have memories of only 10 seconds, he says, and then you can move on with the rest of your life. And then he also had a really interesting time where he said forgiveness is not for the other person. Forgiveness is for yourself, so that you let go of the grudges, you let go of the hate, you let go of the hurt.
And it keeps you healthy mentally and physically. Exactly.
Regardless of age, always keep love alive. Love your partner, love life, love your family, love your neighbor. And remember, a man is not old as long as he has intelligence and affection.
Totally agree. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Be proud, both inside and out. Don't stop going to your hair salon or barber, do your nails, go to the dermatologist and the dentist, keep your perfumes and creams well stocked. When you are well maintained on the outside, it seeps in, making you feel proud and strong. I just got my haircut this weekend. It's funny how I feel younger and more, more energetic when I get my haircut.
It's cleaner. I agree. I need a haircut, so I agree.
Don't lose sight of fashion trends for your age, but keep your own sense of style. You've developed your own sense of what looks good on you. Keep it and be proud of it. It's part of who you are. One of the things that I've always admired about you is your bow ties. And I don't know, I love bow ties, but I've never felt like I could wear a bow tie. I think you have to be tall and thin to wear a bow tie. But you've got your own fashion sense, don't you? You've got your own fashion style.
I do, and it makes me feel good. I like taking risks too. So you're right.
How do you find your own fashion style? Is it like just trial and error, or do you go to some expert like you that decides what's good for your body type, or how do you do that?
First thing is you got to feel comfortable in it. So whatever you feel comfortable in, start right there as a base. If you're not too sure if it's going to go together, ask somebody that you trust, somebody that you respect. So yeah, you can go to a stylist and we'll give advice and give you a few pointers, and then start your wardrobe and mix and match. Like, we'll always put stuff together for you quick and easy.
Always stay up to date, read newspapers, watch the news, go online and read what people are saying. Make sure you have an active email account and try to use some of those social networks. You'll be surprised at what old friends you'll meet.
And I have. Perfect.
All the time.
And
Respect
it's
the younger
not,
generation.
it's relatives too. I've got distant relatives you haven't seen in a while, but the reason I kept Facebook is people say it was the older generations. My older generations have it. People older than me still contact me through Facebook.
Respect the younger generation and their opinions. They may not have the same ideas as you, but they are the future and will take the world in their direction. Give advice, not criticism, and try to remind them that yesterday's wisdom still applies today. Never use the phrase, in my time. Your time is now. As long as you're alive, you are part of this time. Some people embrace their golden years, while others become bitter and surly. Life is too short to waste your days on the latter. Spend your time with positive, cheerful people. It'll rub off on you and your days will seem that much better. Spend your time with bitter people will make you feel older and harder to be around. Do not surrender to the temptation of living with your children or grandchildren if you have a financial choice, that is. Sure, being surrounded by family sounds great, but we all need our privacy. They need theirs and you need yours. Even then, do so only if you really feel you really need the help or do not want to live by yourself. All good suggestions.
That's a great suggestion. And independence is number one. Keeps you vibrant.
Don't abandon your hobbies. If you don't have any, make new ones. You can travel, hike, cook, read, dance. You can adopt a cat or a dog, grow a kitchen, garden, play cards, checkers, chess, dominoes, golf. Try to go. Get out of the house, meet people you haven't seen in a while, experience something new or something old. The important thing is to leave the house from time to time. Go to museums, go walk through a park, get out there.
The pet's a great idea for those that never had one. Get a dog. It gets you out there, you're walking it, you're meeting new people, you're socializing. In the winter, you still have to take that dog for a walk. It's excellent.
I like the museum idea. I worked with a guy that said that every single time he went to a new city on a business trip, he would take an evening and go to a local museum or a local show, local theater, local opera or something like that. And he said it's really important because you won't remember the business trip, but you will remember going to see that museum or going to see that local opera or symphony.
I totally agree. And I've done the same. Like the Louvre, obviously, and everybody's seen that. But then I went to the Rodin Museum. And then when I was in Amsterdam, it was Van Gogh's exhibits. I can tell you every one of them I've seen over in the different countries. It's beautiful. And then I was, sorry, I cut you off. I was big on cathedrals. I always visit cathedrals in all the different cities.
Yeah. I went to a museum in Buffalo and the opera in Cleveland. So maybe not, I did the ones that you mentioned as well, but on just US business trips, I've tried to do that.
Nice.
All good, all very good suggestions. And then this one is really interesting. Speak in courteous tones and try not to complain or criticize too much unless you really need to. Try to accept situations as they are. Pains and discomfort go hand in hand with getting older. Try not to dwell on them, but accept them as part of life. If you're offended by someone, forgive them. If you're offended someone, apologize. Don't drag around resentment with you. It only serves to make you sad and bitter. It doesn't matter who is right. Someone once said, holding a grudge is like taking poison and expecting the other person to die. Don't take that poison. Forgive, forget, and move on with your life.
It's perfect. And stay positive. Being positive, you attract positive people.
I love this thing about speaking courteous tones. I think that, people have this perception of people as they get older that they lose their filter and they become less courteous. And so reminding ourselves to stay courteous and not complaining constantly about our pains and discomforts. And as we said, don't hold a grudge. All good suggestions. We're going to take a final break and come back with some concluding comments with Roger Lamoureux in just a minute. Stay with us, everybody. Welcome back, everyone. Good evening. Brian Crombie on the Brian Crombie Radio Wire. This has been for me a really inspirational evening talking to Roger Lamoureux, someone that I've admired in the fashion business for, he says, 40 plus years. And he's written recently a post about being over 60 and attitudes toward being over 60 and living life to its fullest. And I really like this because I do think that some people, and maybe in the past, we thought that life was over after 50 or after 60. And last week I had a show on living life to its fullest after 50 and some lessons learned. And today Roger has reminded us about living life to its fullest after 60. And I think those are all really important messages for us to hear. And I do think that there is still some ageism. And so therefore making sure that the best way to combat ageism is by us living life to its fullest, and people seeing that the ageism they may have is completely inappropriate. Roger, the last line in this post that you made, I really agree with, and it's laugh. Laugh away your worries. Remember, you are one of the lucky ones. You managed to have a life, a long one. Many never get to this age, never get to experience a full life. Do you agree? Is laughing important?
Laughter is the best medicine for anybody. Again, it's great for the mind, the soul, the body. It keeps you vibrant. It gives you a purpose. I think it attracts the right people. And you laugh at yourself. Like they said, if you can't laugh at yourself, who can laugh at you? So I think it's great medicine for everybody.
I was out on the seashore dancing to a band that I love called That 70s Band. And it was disco. So it was something from my childhood that I remember. And I was twirling around swing style. And I was laughing and singing along and enjoying myself. And a guy came up to me and said, "You look like you're a teenager having just way too much fun at the dance."
That's a great compliment, isn't it?
Isn't it?
You felt great, I'm sure. I was on a flight back from West Palm Beach a couple months ago, and I was watching a movie, and I was howling. Like, you don't realize how loud you were. So the people next to me tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Do you realize the whole plane could hear you laugh?" But I was in tears laughter, but it's a great way to feel.
What if any final comments have you got? You believe, I think, in optimism, correct?
Total optimism. Walk into everything with your eyes wide open. Explore. Just be happy, obviously. I believe I said to you before is respect those as you want to be respected. And just it's happiness, and just keep yourself full. Never settle. I get up in the morning. I already know my plan from the night before, what I'm going to do. We've written down like the gardening and the pets, and that I have pets. I garden. I love to garden. I get out there and I like to get dirty in the mud because it makes me feel good and it looks good. So just keep yourself active and just love life. And I think that's what we do. And it keeps you young. It keeps me, even if I don't look at it, I feel it, right? It's how you feel inside.
I don't feel 60. I feel young.
Yeah.
Love life and stay active. Roger Lamoureux, thank you for the inspiration. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's our show for tonight, everybody. Thank you for joining. I remind you, I'm on every Monday through Friday at 6 o'clock on 960 AM. You can stream me online, even from Wasaga Beach at www.saga960am.ca. Good night, everybody.